Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Joycce Brodsky, and she's in Florida, and she's going to tell us about her near-death experience. And you've had a lot of experiences, haven't you?
I have, yes.
So I'm just going to let you take the floor and take as long as you
Okay.
like. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with probably the most outrageous, outlandish experience that I've had with an NDE, and that's when Archangel Michael was hanging out with me. I had thyroid cancer. This was my second surgery because it wasn't all gone the first time, and I was terrified of this new doctor. In fact, I was convinced that I was not going to make it out of the OR room. Um, I had no confidence in him, and it kind of snowballed into just happening. I get into the OR room, they start to put me under with anesthesia, and I felt like I was gone out of my body. And the next thing I knew, I was on the ceiling, sitting, looking down at the doctors, nurses, and all that was buzzing and going on. And Archangel Michael was sitting right next to me. Um, that alone can send you into another world of reality or not reality. But it was him, definitely how I saw him, because I learned that we all see differently. Our interpretations, our experiences, show up when they show up, when the angels show up, the guides, we may see them one way, you may see them another, but they're still the same energy, the same important, loving light being. And what I saw was a very large, beautiful figure of, was definitely male, and he was ginormous. And with me, he had long, flowing, wavy blonde hair below his shoulders, the bluest eyes ever. And as we were, as it began, I felt his wing around me, and I felt him letting me know that I was going to make it. I wasn't going to die, even though I felt I was out of body at that point. Um, and he just looked at me and said, "You have a lot of work to do here. We need you here. And so you'll make it through the surgery." And I did. And it was a 6.5 hour surgery. So that was a big chunk of time to be in the presence of someone so incredibly magical. It was magic for me. And I felt very loved. I felt very safe, and I felt honored that he was with me. And as I said, I did come through that surgery. I wasn't done with the thyroid cancer yet. However, I will tell you all, I have been in remission since 9/11,
Awesome.
2001. I had some work, I had more work done, and then I went into my spiritual work and my self healing and my self learning, if you would. I, I started eating better. I became a lot more spiritual. I became a lot more connected to spirit. And I began not only to help myself, but I started helping other people. And I guess I didn't guess that was the reason for me still being here. I I do relate to being a light worker, and I work not only with humans, but I work with animals. They're actually my passion. Um, a lot of work with horses and dogs and cats and even wild animals. I'm an animal communicator. They trust me, they talk to me. I can pinpoint medical issues with them or mental issues. And when they have messages for their owners, they come and they tell me, and I share it with their people. So those are two big things in my life. that have been very motivating and trend setting for me, if you will, away from the other work that I used to do. I've been, excuse me, I was in landscaping and flower design work, and I loved it. It was beautiful, but it wasn't what I want. It wasn't what I was meant to do now. And I have been a certified Reiki master since 2010. So I do that work, energy work. And I'm also an ordained minister. I don't know why I did that, but I did. So I can marry people, I think. I think that was part of it, especially those who this what am I trying to say? I don't want to offend anybody, but there are people that organized religions don't choose to marry because of the way they feel and they believe. And I think that's not right. So I became an ordained minister to offer marriages to people who are cut out by our systems. Anything else you want to know?
No,
You
go
want to
right
know
ahead.
my
Yeah.
So I had two other experiences, and they were car accidents. One was where a friend of mine was driving, and he went off the road and hit a ginormous boulder on the side of the road, on my side, of course. And I went through the windshield. And as I'm flying through the windshield, I'm feeling myself leave my body. And I'm like, whoa, this is it. And then I felt and heard my dearest friend Andrea, who had passed several years before. She was holding me and telling me that she was going to keep me safe, and I will walk out of this and I'll be fine. And obviously I was, but it was, people wonder, what is it like to be out of your body? Hard to describe that, because it's a freedom. You don't feel this heavy body. You're just like a light energy form. And I actually had the ability to fly around. And I remember making some jokes about it and pretending I was like Supergirl, Superman, Supergirl, put my arms straight out in front of me and I'm, whoa, let's do this and turn and circle. And you can do these things, which I find inspirational, not only to me, but to other people, because I know most people, especially here in America, are terrified of the word death and dying. They relate it to, once the body is gone, then you're gone. And people like me and you who've gone through the NDEs know that that's not true. The spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call that energy force that's in each and every one of us, it's energy. You can't destroy it. You can't kill it. So it's got to be something else, somewhere else. And I think we stand up as a symbol of that and help people not be so scared. Because I think the biggest thing about dying is the fear that people are told about. Well, when you die, it's over. Oh, honey, you and I know it's not over. um, and most of us, many of us, are here for purposes to help each other. We're all connected. We all support each other. And especially in times like this, when globally the world is just in a major shift, I think it's our responsibility to reach out and help as many people as we can, and animals too. Um, most people don't realize how important the animal kingdom is to us humans. They are unconditional. They come here and they live in the moment. They don't think about tomorrow. They don't worry about what happened yesterday. It's the now thing. And if we could just look at that and learn from that, I think it would help bring peace and calm to humans. I have dogs, I have cats, and I have a miniature horse that I rescued a bunch of years ago, and he is a healer. And how did I know this? Because he told me, for one thing. Um, and in California, we worked with a lot of children on the spectrum, autistic, or they had some emotional issues. And I watched this little horse help these kids open up and talk for the first time, some of them. And their parents, was the mothers who came, they were astounded by the reaction of their children with this little horse. And little man is literally the size of a Great Dane. He's a little guy. And he is adorable and loving. And that's the first thing kids see is this cute little black and white. Oh my God, what is that? You know? And they related to him and he to them. And to see this is so, it's just beautiful. Animals do help us if we allow them to. They're sentient beings, they grieve, they love, they care, and they teach. So that's another one of my tools that I work with, my animals.
So you
I've
had
had
2 car accidents?
I had more, but the two, oh yeah, the second one was mine. I was driving down to Miami in my car and I got hit on the right-hand side by a pickup truck, hit me in the front end of my car. And I was doing like 65 and it just threw me totally out of control. And I remember hitting that cement divider like 3 times and then I rolled 3 times. And I remember holding onto the steering wheel really tight, going, oh my God, I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. And I kept thinking about my daughter, who at that time was so young. I said, and I'm a single parent. I said, she's not ready to be alone. And the next thing, my mom was in the car with me. And I could feel her presence. I could feel her closeness to me. And she was just saying, you're going to be fine. You're going to be you'll walk out of this. And the next thing I knew, the car stopped and it had landed roof up. There was nothing left of the car. The car was smashed completely. It was just smashed. And somehow the door opened because I know, looking at the car days later, there's no way I could have pushed that open. It was smashed in. Pegi, like somebody took a big hammer, and hit it. And the door opened and I got out. I know I was in shock. And I remember feeling my mother's presence still with me. And as I was just walking aimlessly, I didn't even know what I was doing at that point. And 2 wonderful men, I call them my angels, had pulled over and stopped. And one of them had been a former medic in the Marines. And he came over to me and he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't leave me until the police came. And they asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital, and I was going to say no, but he went like this. He shook his head. Yeah, you have to. Luckily, miraculously, I lived through it. Again, another one. That's 3 times in my life that I feel I should have passed, but I did not. And I came out of each of those episodes with such gratitude. People ask, well, how did you feel after? And I went, are you kidding? The fact that I'm still alive, that to me is everything. And I was not crippled or, broken or damaged or anything. I mean, I had time that I had to recuperate, but nothing like just leaving the planet completely. So that was pretty powerful. I am a psychic. I probably been doing this since I was a kid, because I remember, the invisible friend that kids talk about. I had a real invisible friend that was visible to me, and she and I, because I remember being a lonely child. My sister was much older than me, and where we lived and whatever. And she came to me one morning and was my playmate for like the next couple of years. And she taught me a lot about this other side, if you will, that we have, that there is another side, that there are actually multiple sides. I do believe that there are multiple lives that we go through simultaneously. I I've seen things. I have seen things. I've been shown things that tell me that while I'm living here and talking to you right now, there's another Joyce over there or over there having another life experience. And I know all of this sounds really bizarre, but truth is stranger than fiction. And I think it's all of us going through this. It's just some of us are more aware of it than others. And we're all connected. And I believe because we're all connected, we feel each other's everything. So if I'm mean to you or I'm bad to you, you feel it, but that travels to different people that we know and love. So that should tell people, you know what, can you just be kind and nice to others, because it reflects on you as well and those that you love. And I think there are more people now than ever before waking up to that and trying to create a more peaceful existence here on this planet while we're here.
I think too, because we all know we're all going through a very big change right now, and people are stressed enough without people picking at them.
I definitely believe we need to do something about the bullying that's going on, and I don't mean just with kids. My own adult daughter had a really horrible experience with the former company she worked for, where these were adults. They were all older than she. And I know what does it come from? Usually jealousy, usually your own insecurity. Why do you beat up other people? Because you feel like you can, because you cannot take care of yourself. And I think that's something we need to address now. That and the suicide rate, which is insane, especially with young people. So I do counseling, and I have had way too many parents come in here to talk about their kids who kill themselves. And it's like, how do you deal with that? As a parent, how do you deal with that? And I think we all need to join in and do more loving work while we're here. I think that's the biggest lesson that we could teach other people is how to be. You don't have to invite somebody to your house for dinner, but you sure as hell need to show them some respect and not abuse them, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yep. Just need to leave people alone. If they're wrong, then let them live that life that you think they're wrong, you know? We
Yeah,
don't need to
right.
change everybody.
No, you can't. You can't. You can only people who are open, people who want to live a better life for themselves and for others. They're the ones that I reach out to. Actually, they reach out to me. I'm sure you find that too.
Uh-huh.
They know who we are. Somehow they're attracted to us, and they're asking for information. They're asking for help, and that's our job. That's our purpose. So I offer consultations for you or for your pet. I've had a lot of people contact me about their animals. And I find that very self-rewarding because of how I feel about animals, for one thing.
Do you
And
do
I
this
know
online or in person?
both. If you live nearby, then you'll come over to my healing room. If not, I can Zoom, or you don't have to be with me. I don't have to be in the same room with your animal. It's funny. I've had people call me about something, and all of a sudden I'll go, "Okay, who's this little white and black fluffy dog that's at your feet?" And they'll go, "Ah, how do you know?" I said, "Because I see him there by your feet, and he's got, excuse me, a message for you." And do I know how this happens? No, I don't. It just does. And it's all telepathic. And I offer help to people who want to learn how to do that, because I do believe everybody's capable of intuitive and otherworldly, if you will, things that they can do to help themselves and others. It's just a matter of learning how to work with those tools. The meditation, seeing yourself in different locations, in different experiences. There's a lot out. There's a lot of information, a lot of information, and one bite at a time is what people are good at handling. Uh, so I have workbooks, and I have hints and tools for people to help them grow their own talents, their own gifts. I think we're all gifted. I think we just forget it or lose it. If you lose it if you don't use it, for sure. I know people have asked me many times, how do you shut them off? You hear them all the time in your head, and I laugh and I go, well, I could if I let them, but I definitely tell them when it's okay, it's closed now. I don't want to hear anything more, because they want an audience. They have a lot to say to us and a lot to teach us. And who are they? Your angels, your guides, your spirit animals, those who have passed that have messages for you. Um, there's a lot out here. I love those stained glass windows behind me, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So let me get back with you. These others, these voices, what are they to you? Do you think like there's this, I call it like the land of intelligence or something. It seems like it's in the air. Like when we're on the other side, we have access to these knowings and these telepathic communications, and we come back. It's like we still carry a little bit of that. And it seems like we're able to tune in to the other side a little bit at times. But then it makes you wonder, where do they get this? Because we think of intelligence as brain, stuff we've learned, stuff we've acquired through experience. And, even at 5 years old, my drowning, I'm in this land of, I can feel there's these intelligent guides. Like I had free will, but I could tell I was being watched, and there was guides, and they were kind of just, I wasn't alone. Like they could change my experience at will if they wanted.
Hmm. I don't think any of us are alone, even when we're in all by ourselves. We're definitely not alone. I, like you, I have heard, felt, seen so many different shapes, forms, beings, including aliens. I've had experience with aliens who, why anybody would think that we are the only ones down here, I don't know. It's too big of an experience just for human beings. And
There is an alien feeling to the other side. I mean, a lot of people assume, it's all biblical, it's God and Jesus and angels and this ancient, but yet it seems to me like there's this futuristic, higher knowledge beyond our technology that exists.
I could agree with you. It's bigger than space out there. And I know when I get visitations, um, I can feel them. Sometimes I see them. It depends on what it is, who it is. Animal spirits I see all the time. I actually travel with 3 spirit horses that are my protectors. And when I do a reading for someone or I do Reiki, the room fills up with your animal guide. It's crazy. I've had elephants, giant gorillas, horses, lions, tigers. Oh my! They just whatever's there for you, they come in. They know. I don't know, but they know. And the person that I'm working with, they know because it resonates with them. I'll always ask. I'll tell them this is what's here, and they'll tell me a story about what's happening that's not happening then and now, but had happened before with the animal that came in. I, reincarnation is something that a lot of people want to believe in because they feel, okay, then I go on forever. But reincarnation is very real to me, and I have done past life regressions and have experienced who I was thousands of years ago or 400 years ago. I've had a dog that's been with me with all my lives. Everyone, my Max, he's my soul heart dog. And when I found that out, when he let me know that he was always going to be with me. It made it a little bit easier when he left his body in this lifetime. And then he sent me another dog anyway. They do that. Animals will send you not a replacement, but someone that you can feel good with. And Max did. And now we have a Duncan MacLeod in the house. Not a Dunkin' Donuts, but a Duncan MacLeod. And he is a very spiritual animal. I think most I'm going to call.
Yeah. The day we found my cat, Molly, drowned in our pool, I wanted to go immediately to the shelter and get a new cat because I felt that would be honoring Molly's life. Like her life would not be in vain. If we went and rescued another cat, gave another cat a family. And when we were burying Molly out in her tree in the front yard, I looked over and I took a picture of it. There's a light beam going across the porch to where she used to sit on the porch. I'm like, look there, Molly's watching us.
That was her,
Very
absolutely,
brave.
absolutely. And I love her name was Molly. That was my grandma's name, Molly.
Really?
I love that name. It's very special. My maternal grandmother was born in Bucharest, Romania, and I know she gave me the gift because she was very gifted. And in my family back then, you didn't talk about this stuff, woo
Right.
woo. You didn't talk about this. Shh, be quiet. So I did not. I didn't say anything to anybody for the longest time. And when it got to the point I was now an adult and living on my own, and they knew that I was doing this, I had a couple of them contact me to ask if I could do a reading about. We lost a couple of young children in our family, and my aunt had asked me about her daughter Randy, who died when she was not even 6 years old. And I think there were like 4 of us in the room. And all of a sudden, the scene changed. As soon as she asked me, the scene changed, even though we were sitting in her dining room, we were not there anymore. We were in a country scene, and I felt the energy just totally switch over. And her daughter came through, but she had been reborn and she was an adult. Looked nothing like Randy that as we knew her. But she came in to make Aunt Lola feel better, that she was alive. She actually was a school teacher now. And Lola loved that. And how do these things they just come up, when you have the ability to do this and you practice it on a daily basis, it just happens. Unless you tell them to go away.
I've
Need a
heard that.
break now, right? I'm sure you know that I have to go off screen.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So when we went to the pound and I was looking for a cat, and Molly come from a stray, so I didn't want another mean cat. She was just naturally by nature mean because she come from a stray. And so we was standing there and all these cats was hissing at me, these cages. And I guess I'm not going to find a loving cat. I guess I'm not going to get a cat. And I felt someone staring at my back. And I turned around and looked, and here was this mangy cat with no tail and a lump that had been removed from its neck. So it had this bulb fur. And I went over, and it was just like stuck to the cage, like hooked to it, looking at me. Where the other cats, you approach them and they're hiding, player in the back, hissing. And this cat was like, pick me. And so
Yeah.
I went over, opened the cage, and it just started curling around my neck and cuddling up on me. And it was so nice because, like I say, Molly was just not a cat that wanted you to bother her at all. She would knock on our camper door. We'd travel and we'd take her with us, and she would want out. And then she would not, people would laugh and say, we see your cat knocking on your door.
Oh,
I was like,
funny.
yeah, she does. She would just pound on that door and would let her in. And she was very intelligent. And but yeah, she just wasn't real loving. So I really wanted a loving cat. And so we named him Daryl because I was into The Walking Dead at the time. And I liked Daryl. And so he was a good cat.
Do you still have him?
No, he died. A coyote I never let him out because what happened to Molly. And one night we got home late and we're carrying in stuff and he bolted out the door and he went out in no time and a coyote got him.
I'm sorry.
He was probably out there hugging it. I mean, he was just this lovable thing.
I don't let my cats outside because there are coyotes around here too.
Right.
So there are things. Florida, are you kidding? We're like a jungle here. The other day, my dog Duncan's a big boy. He's like maybe 55 pounds, but he's big. And he is screaming outside. And I go, oh, let me go check out what you're screaming at. And I open the back door on the patio and I look to the right where he's barking. And there was a 4-foot iguana on my wall. That's a big animal. And I'm like, how do I get you off the wall and out of the backyard? I don't want to touch you. Not that they're aggressive, but I didn't want to touch you. And
we've had a lot of owls at our house lately.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting sign.
So the sign of, I don't know. And they just sit and look, just eyes real big. They just look at me.
Owls are super intelligent, super sensitive, great hunters. And I think when that many owls show up, they're letting you know that there's things that you should look out for around you, your house, your property, just to be aware and to be able to see more. Because owls have incredible eyesight. And people don't get that they're incredible predators and hunters. They see in the dark. They hunt it at night, and they're very powerful raptors, very powerful. And that's telling me that they're telling you about your power, to be aware of what you've got going for yourself and for others. But that's a really good sign. That's a great omen to have. An owl, definitely great owl. And I would ask, when you see them, you have a message for me? You don't even have to wait for an answer because it'll come whether in your sleep or as you go along. So you have barn, do you have a barn?
Well, we have a barn, but it doesn't have the sides. It's just the roof and
Oh, that's all
we haven't put
right.
the sides on yet.
It's a new barn. Oh, they're looking for a place to come. That that would be cool. Just yeah. Oh, so do you have animals? No.
We have a few chickens, we have 2 dogs, a cat, and we have a few goats.
You have animals.
Mhm.
You you have a zoo for sure. Oh, well, that's another reason the owls are there. They're looking for another home. So you'll have them there, and they're great mousers and ratters, because every barn has mice and rats. Just comes with the territory. Yeah. Do you do readings?
Mm. When I was in high school, I got playing around and I tell kids, oh, let me, because I read a book on palm reading. And so I was like, let me read your palm. And I didn't know what I was doing. And went to like, I think it's 10-year high school reunion. And this guy come running up to me, says, I was hoping you would be here. I want you to know everything you told me to come true. And I said, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, no, 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 it all come true. I'm like, okay, whatever. But
Where are you from?
I live in Ohio, born and
Oh,
raised.
what? I met somebody yesterday from Ohio. How funny. Born and raised. Um, hmm. Well, I'm from New York originally, and I lived in New York City for 20 years. And boy, did I have experiences there. New York is filled with spirits. The buildings, I remember one young man that I had met while we were walking our dogs, and he told me about one of the rooms in his apartment that he never would go into. And I'd say, why? I asked him why, and he'd go, because it's haunted. And when you live in New York, you have a 2 bedroom apartment, you only use 1 bedroom. Are you crazy? Do you charge do you charge that entity for rent? So you know I was curious enough that I had to go. I had to. And I remember walking with my dog into the apartment, and everything was fine until we got to the door of the room that he would not enter. He opens the door, and oh my God, Peggy, immediately I felt this blast of icy air. And I had walked maybe 2 feet into the room, and I felt that I had to get out. My dog would not go in there. She was crying. She absolutely would not walk in. And I had to back out because I felt this evil presence. And at that time, I didn't have any knowledge of taking care of anything like that. You have to have certain knowledge, tools to deal with that kind of evil. Um, my own apartment that I lived in at one point, I had these little sprites hopping around, and I went to the corner bodega and asked for help. And I had to burn a white candle for 3 days in a row and do some incantations to get rid of them because I knew instinctively that they could grow into something major. So they were gone. But this keeps happening to me wherever I go, whether I go on vacation, I get hi, or I need help.
Mm.
There are spirits that come to me for help. I've helped 2 of those spirits pass forward because they were stuck. One was this sweet little girl, Victorian era. That's what clothing that she was wearing. And she was stuck here. Why? Because she couldn't find her cat. I can't go without my cat.
Mhm.
And this child had been gone out of body since like the 1890s. And this had to be like 2012, I think, 2013. I found her cat and I reunited them. And as soon as they got together and I saw the two of them together, she turned and walked. And it's true, there is a tunnel of light that they go into. And I watched her walk away, and that to me, it took my breath away that I could help a spirit, a soul move forward. And that's, I think, why I do so much of this, because it's gratifying to me to be able to help others.
Our friends of ours years ago built a brand new log cabin and wanted us to come see it. And so we pulled in the driveway and we started walking to the house. And I started having this strange feeling as we walked in the front door, as like, I'm like, before the door opened, I'm like, wait a minute. It's like I've been here before, but I couldn't have. They just built it. But I can tell you the steps are on the left and this room is back here and there's two rooms up here. I was like, I could see it. Open up the door. It is exactly as I had just seen it. And they wanted to take us upstairs, show us the bedrooms. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I don't know why. I said, I know it makes no sense because this is a brand new home, but it feels like someone committed suicide in here. It's like, I gotta get out of here. And I told my husband, I'll wait for you in a car. And I didn't know what was going on. I never experienced anything like that. I thought, I know I sound like a weirdo, but it was so strong. I couldn't
Strong.
escape it. And I didn't think about it till a few years ago. I'm like, wait a minute. Their brother committed suicide years later in that house. And even when I heard he committed suicide, I didn't know it was that house. I assumed it was this other house in town. And then later on, I know he was at his cabin, at his brother's cabin when he did it. It's like, and I didn't even put it together then. And then later on, like, wait a minute.
So you
How
saw
does
the
that even
future.
work? That is a brand new house. It hadn't even happened yet, but I picked up on that energy.
That's crazy.
It's
Yeah,
weird. There's so
that's
much you can't explain. It's just stuff that
it,
happens.
there is a lot that we cannot explain, and it happens a lot to those of us who are open and any. If you're open, I had a woman tell me that. So I'd gone over to her to give a reading and to do a Reiki session on her, and she was telling me about another woman, psychic, who had come into her home and felt all this negative energy. So she set up crystals in a grid, but she used the word portal. And I looked at the woman and I went, you telling me that she opened a portal in your house? The hair on the back of my neck went straight up. I said, I know you wouldn't know, but I know. If anybody ever mentions to you that they want to open a portal anywhere where you are, you tell them to get the hell out of your house. I said, so whatever I was going to do with you first, I'm going to do this now. And I did some work on removing whatever energy she had invited in. But people don't understand the power of otherworldly energies. And I only work with positive, with light, with love. I will not do anything negative to hurt anybody or anything, because I've seen, I'm sure you have, the power that we can unleash in a negative way. You have to be really careful with this. This is an extremely powerful gift or tool that we have, excuse me, and should only be used for good.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't let a known murderer to walk in your home. Don't be inviting negative
Things that
forces.
could be murderers when they were in physical form, or they're out for something bad, and people don't get how powerful it could be. I'm sure have seen, and I know I've experienced things that have scared the bejeebus out of me sometimes. There's a town here in Florida called Casadega. Maybe some of your listeners know of it. And it was founded in the 1930s by a man who set up, it's a spiritual place. It's where the only ones who live there are psychics, mediums, healers. And for as long as I lived in Florida, I wanted to go there. I just wanted to check it out. It was just like doing this to me. Come on. And so I went with two girlfriends, one who is not at all connected, the other is moderately connected. We drive up, we get in front of the hotel. I get out of the car. And again, my mom, God bless you, Mom, I could feel her put her arms around me and tell me she was going to be with me all weekend. So to me, that was a red flag. I knew that I was going to have things go on in there. And sure enough, we walk in and you register at the hotel in the gift room. They have a little store there that they sell all kinds of little stuff, stones and angels. And I said, you go sign in first. I'm just going to walk around and look. Well, as I'm walking back towards the sign-in desk, there is a man that shows up on my left side. He's about 6'3", very nice. I knew he wasn't real. I mean, I knew he was not in flesh. And as we were walking, he says to me, could you please go hug whatever her name was that owns the place? That's my wife. Could you just give her a hug and tell her I love her and that I'm fine? And I realized this was not a being in flesh. And I looked at him and I went, well, I can't hug her because I don't know her, but I could give her your message. And so I walk up to the counter and I introduce myself and I tell her, and her jaw dropped. She says, who are you? I said, doesn't matter. I said, who was that? Her husband. He had passed a month before. And no one, of all the people that came in there, no one but me had seen him or had any kind of interaction with him. And I was blown away, but she was like, who are you? And I said, I just am. And the rest of the weekend was insane. They kept coming at me left and right. Oh my God, Peggy, I had to leave a day early. I couldn't deal with it. They had a restaurant on the property that could never stay in business because the restaurant itself had someone in there that was violent, actually, would be throwing pots and pans at the people who worked there. And my friends had told them about me. I don't tell people what I do. Otherwise you're not left alone. And I walked into the kitchen and there was a staircase on the left, maybe 10 feet in after you walked in, that went up to the first floor of the hotel, but it had been blocked off. As I'm walking past the staircase, I see a woman fall down, land at my feet, and I knew she was dead. And I knew somebody had pushed her. And then this man, his name was George, comes up on my side and he's laughing. And I said, who are you? I'm the one who throws the pots and pans at all these idiots in here. I said, oh, that's not okay. All right. There's a lot of anger going on here. It turned out that he had been at the restaurant back in the 40s and he was black and he should have been promoted because he was black. They kept him down at the bottom of the rung. And when he died, he never left. He never left. And he did a lot of pranks. And then he got really angrier and he started throwing things at people. And so he and I talked, we had a long talk. And I told the owner of the restaurant about him. And I kind of introduced them, even though the owner did not see the guy, but he spoke to him. And they let me know a day later that things had been quieter in the kitchen. I said, good, because you showed him some respect. That's all the man was looking for. I said, hopefully he'll pass. He didn't pass. He was still hanging around. But between seeing the woman fall down and finding out that, yes, that had really happened about 30 years ago, and no one had ever said that she had been murdered, they didn't know what happened. I clearly saw a young man, push her down the steps. And then there were the things that kept touching me while I was trying to sleep. And that was when then I woke up at 5 in the morning and said, I'm out of here. I'll meet you downstairs. I can't stay here anymore. They will not leave me alone. You know, they had messages, and the ones that were okay and easy, I didn't mind them, but the ones that were scaring me, I didn't want to be there. You get really sensitive to these.
I think a lot of times people have premonitions, but they don't recognize them as a premonition. They just think, was I just daydreaming?
Right.
Why was I just kind of daydreaming about this stuff going on all of a sudden? It maybe even being a public place, because that happened to me a few times. I felt like I was just all of a sudden daydreaming. And here's all this stuff that's going on right now. But yet in my mind, I kind of get this feeling this whole new other scenario is going on at the same time. And
Again,
then later it comes to pass that this thing happened. And it's like, it's weird because I had this weird, like a daydream. And then this later happens.
simultaneous lives. That's what's going on. That's why we have those or what do you call that? Um deja vu. Deja vu. I've had so many of those where I'm not I'm here, but I'm there. And the whole scene opens up in front of me, and it's where'd that come from? And then so many years ago, I was probably in my 20s, 30s, and I was with some friends of mine who were also sensitive to out of body experiences. And I saw this golden filament, and I saw it being attached to every living sentient being in front of me or behind me or this. And I knew it was a sign for me to know that we were all connected. And what a powerful image that was, to see that physical connection and know how we are so affected by others. How could we not be? It's like my finger is in your finger. And it was a huge awakening to the fact that while I'm living this life, I'm here living that life or that life or that life. And as crazy as it sounded, I got it. I believed it. And I still do. I likened it to, you take a sheet of typing paper, let's say, that's so thin, and you can slice it. Take that and make slices, multiple slices out of that piece of paper. And that's how many lives we have going on simultaneously. You know, there are things out here hard to explain. But once you've seen insight into some of them, you believe. It's hard not to believe. And I choose to believe at this point. So more comes in. I think that's, there are things when I meditate, and I do a lot of astral projection, and I'm off the ground flying, and I'm like, how am I don't even ask how I'm doing this. Where am I going next? What do you want me to see? Because I think that's
Does this seem to get stronger as you get older? Because I'm finding that with myself.
yeah. I mean, I was told many years ago by a Native American grandma, and that they called her, I can't remember, Grandma Pegi. I can't remember her name. She was from Taos, New Mexico, and she would come to Florida once a year to do readings. And I was lucky enough, I felt privileged to be in her presence, to have a reading with her. And I remember her telling me things I walked out of there going, okay, this is just too crazy. But it was for the future, and it's actually now, it's happening. I see what she said is happening. She saw me. First thing she saw was a white buffalo, and you know how important that is in Native American culture, white buffalo. She saw me as a sage. As I got older, I would be, as we get older, women, we get wiser. We get more comfortable in who we are and what we should be doing, and that, and grow into that as as a light worker, if you will, to do the work that needs to be done on the planet now. It's been needed forever, but now is everything is just erupting.
It seems like after menopause, we go through some kind of change, not just physically, but spiritually.
I agree with you. I didn't think about it that way when it was happening, but now that I'm here, I see that as I get older, I get stronger in this, and things just get easier to see and to feel, and to be able to help other people when they reach out to me. And I know and I tell them I'm just the microphone. I'm a channel, and I don't know a lot of the things that come out of my mouth. I don't. So we do recordings, or I ask you to write it down. Because you're going to ask me something an hour later, and I'm going to, did I say that? I don't remember. Because it's not my place to remember the information I'm giving that person. The message was not for me. And I think that's what we are as we get older. We are really messengers. And we don't have to deal with all the crap we dealt with before. If you have kids, raising your kids, what kind of work you do. I was in the landscape flower business before. It consumed, like my daughter would say, my mom worked like 10 days a week. And pretty much that's what it was like. So I didn't have time for this. But then it came to the time in my life where I knew I had to make time for this. This was my calling.
It's hard to do when you're physically active, I think. I mean, you can still, on long walks or you're outside working and you have your quiet time. I mean, you can still get your downloads or whatever. But for me, if my mind's on one thing, I have to be focused on what I'm doing. I can't handle distractions. But it seems like, yeah, they can come in just out of nowhere when you're busy, but to really comprehend and process, it seems like you need that quiet time, like maybe after you're retired or something, or you make.
I'll never retire, but I have to be busy all the time. I'm just like crazy. I can't sit still. I need to be doing something. And I'm outdoors most of the time, and that's where they fly around me when I'm outdoors, I get a lot of downloads. That's when I'm most accessible and feeling. If I'm in nature, I'm in nature. I'm not on this planet to be Joyce. I'm just like to observe and absorb.
Do you have a website?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I had, and it's gone, but it should be up again next week, and it'll probably be under my name.
You want me to leave your email to people
My
contact
email
you?
is spiritdancers76@gmail.com.
Okay, I'll put it in the description.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, this was fun. This was fun, and I love your backdrop.
Thank you.
It's very calming, and blue is one of my favorite colors. Did you have that made, or they came?
That you can buy at Lowe's. They come in a roll, kind of like wallpaper.
Oh, that's
they peel on and off.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And your little angel.
Yeah.
Your big angel. Anyway.
And my son just got me that pita for Christmas. And I had a weird thing happen. I around one day and I picked it up to show it to somebody at the camera. We were talking and I'm like, where did this come from? Suddenly it had a black, I washed it off. I finally got it off, but at first it wouldn't come off. It had a black thing on its neck and like drippings down its chest. And the drippings, it was all black, but then drippings turned goldish. And it looked like enamel, like it was baked in. And I called my son that got me this. I'm like, I know this didn't have it on it. When I got it, I said, but I need to ask you. And he said, no, I checked it for, breaks, cracks, everything,
bet.
thoroughly. And I said, I know I've looked at it several times since I got it and I put it there. And I just, one day it was there. And so I was contacting a priest and preachers and historians of these things, and nobody had any answers. And so we had tried rubbing it off and it wouldn't come off. So I just got a wet rag. I'll see if it'll come off, and it come right off. And it looked like it would not come off because it was like enamel, like shiny. I don't know. It's gone now, but I had
It's
pictures
gone.
of it. I had it on Facebook asking people's opinions. Some people were saying my house was possessed and I need to
Oh
have
God, no.
exorcism. in here.
Actually, what I picked up was a detoxification. That's what I got. Something was detoxing in that space that it's in, and it took care of it. But that's not me again. That's like what I just heard back there. I get hit on my right side, on my right shoulder. That's where I get my psychic stuff coming. It's funny. Um, it's funny how the body attunes itself to receiving what needs to be received. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And you have a wonderful rest of your day. And when is this going to be posted?
This will
Joanna?
be posted tonight. I'll send it to you as soon as it's
Oh,
published.
oh, cool. Because I have to tell my friends.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. You
Thank
be
you.
well. All right.
Bye.
Bye.